Hi there, in this video we'll be creating our very own game. I hope you're excited for this because it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I am, so let's begin. Open up your IDLE. And for this, because it's a pretty big thing, let's do it in a new file so that you can save this program. So in our new file, let's begin our game. So our game is going to be quite simple. I'm sure you must have played the game Bounce before. Basically, you have a paddle and you have a ball, and the ball keeps on bouncing around until you miss it with the paddle, and then the ball will hit the bottom of the screen and the game will pause. Now, you can add many more things to the game. You could add like the bricks and the stuff, so if the ball hits the brick disappears and the ball comes bouncing back. But that's quite more complicated and we don't have a lot of time for that. But first, let's at least create the basic version of the game. Well, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is create the game canvas. So let's use what we know from Tkinter, import star, import random. We'll be using this module and we'll obviously be using the import time module. Alright, so initialize our TK. So we have our own TK and then initialize the canvas. But before we do that, we'll be changing it up a bit. So we'll be adding a title. tk.title is equal to bounce. And we'll be seeing that tk.resizable is 0,0. Now you must be wondering, what does this resizable do? It basically states that once our TK or once our canvas is initialized, you won't be able to make it smaller or bigger like for this. Like right now, we can make our screen bigger and smaller, but once we say tk.resizable 0,0, it means that it will stay the size it is. You cannot make it smaller or bigger. Now we'll be saying another new feature that we haven't talked about before. It's going to be tk.wm underscore attributes topmost or minus topmost comma 1. Now you must be really confused you must be wondering, what does this mean? tk.wm underscore attributes topmost comma 1. This basically says that we tell Tkinter to place the place the window containing our canvas in front of all other windows. So that's what the topmost means. It should be in front of all other windows. It should not be hidden by any other window. Next, we'll be initializing our canvas. Canvas is equal to canvas, taking in our parameters tk, width is equal to 500, height is equal to 500, and we'll be adding one more parameter, or a few more. BD is equal to 0, but highlight thickness is equal to 0 as well. So BD basically is the border, and the highlight thickness is also part of the border. Basically, these two things will just make our game look better on screen. Last but not least, we need to do our two most common lines, canvas.pack. So this will create it, and tk.update. Awesome. So Command S, let's just call this bounce. Great. We save this. Let's do F5, run it. And we have our bounce. Great. So if you try resizing, you can't. So this is our application or our game. And in this game, we'll create all our objects. We'll be creating a ball, the paddle, and then we'll start playing a game. So let's go back to our bounce and let's start coding. All right. Now what we have to do is create the ball class. We talked briefly about classes and object-oriented programming before, but the concept is quite simple. So we need to create a ball class that takes the parameters for the canvas and the color of the ball we're going to draw. So let's create a new class ball, and let's add some functions to it. So def initialize, so def init, and it's going to take the parameter self, canvas, and color, i.e. what color of the ball we want. Click all right, and in this function self.canvas should be equal to canvas, and self.id, so its id should be equal to canvas.create. We'll be creating the ball here. So canvas, yeah, let's just create an oval. So create oval, and we want the oval to be 10, 10, 25, 25. So it's going to create for us an oval, and the color should be, if you remember, using the last parameter, color. Great. Last but not least, we want the canvas to move. So self.canvas.move. So here we want to position the ball in the center of the screen. So whatever the self.id is, that's going to be its initial position, and we want to make it 245, 100. So sort of centered in the screen approximately. And then we want to create one more function, and it's going to be def draw. And we're going to leave this blank for now. Pass. So in this will come our animation. This is just the initialization. So if you didn't get this, let's just go through it one more time. We first called our class ball. So we created our own class. We called it ball. Then we created an initialization function that takes the parameters canvas and color. So obviously it's going to take itself, the canvas, and the color. At line 3, or self.canvas, we're going to say we set the object variable canvas to the value of the parameter canvas. So self.canvas will be used in the ball class, and that should be equal to canvas. In the next line, we're saying that we're creating the ball itself. So self.id, we're calling the create oval function with 5 parameters, the xy values of the coordinate for the top left, then 25, 25 for the bottom right, and then we're just saying what color do we want to fill it with. Awesome. Now, what we want to do is we want to move the ball so that it's centered. So in our game, we don't want the ball to start off somewhere over here. We want the ball to be in the middle. So we're saying self.canvas.move, self.id, so wherever it was before, to this 245, 100, which is approximately centered. Great. In the last 2 lines, we're creating a new function called draw, and we're just simply passing the keyword past like we talked about before. This won't do anything at the moment, but we'll be using it later on. Awesome. Now that we've created a ball class, let's initialize it. So just click enter, and let's say over here ball is equal to ball. So we're calling the class, and then we have to initialize it with the canvas and then the color. So let's create a red ball, red. And now if we run it, let's try running this program, Command S, F5, and we got this. Awesome. So we now have a ball, and it's approximately centered. So let's close this. Another thing we have to do is we have to create a main loop, which will keep on updating the canvas so that it'll always show the ball moving. So let's create a while loop, while 1. So this will run forever. tk.update idle tasks. Yeah, we're using a lot of new stuff here, but I'll explain it all. tk.update, and then we're going to say time.sleep 0.01. So all we're saying here is our main loop, so our while 1 loop, is all it's saying is that tkinter redraw the screen. So we're updating the idle task, so whatever is going on in the background, and we're updating the foreground as well, and then we're causing it to sleep. So while the ball moves, it'll keep the canvas will be updating as the ball moves, and we'll get to see the animation. Awesome. So now we've created our ball class. We have created a small while loop. Click F5. You shouldn't see any difference. Great. So we have a ball and almost in the center, a little bit off, but that's fine. And now we have to add some action. We want the ball to move. So we're in the def draw. We are back here. So we want to remove the pass now, and we want to add some action. So we have to animate the ball to move. So let's say self.canvas.move, self.id. So wherever it is right now. And let's do it 0, -1. So it'll start moving to the direction to the left. Since init saved the canvas parameter as the object variable, we will use that variable with self. So you must be wondering, why are we using self here? Why not just canvas.move? It's because we used it as a parameter, we have to initialize it. So self.canvas is equal to canvas, initializes it, and then wherever we want to use the canvas, we have to say self.canvas. Now we pass 3 parameters to the move. The ID of the oval. So remember, the move parameter always takes 3. The move function always takes in 3 parameters. The first one is the ID. The second one is how much you want to move to the right or left. And the third one is how much you want to move up or down. So here we passed in the ID of the oval. So that's the first one check. Second one is saying we don't want to move horizontally. We want to move up. So -1 basically says move 1 pixel up. So I know this doesn't do much, but it's good to just try it out to see if it's working. So it doesn't seem to be working, and let's see why. So our ball is not moving up. Something seems to be wrong. The reason is we are not calling on the draw function. Obviously, we have to call on it. So let's add in our while one loop, ball.draw. Hopefully you got that. If you don't, let me explain it right now. Def draw is a function of the ball class. This will not be executed unless we call upon the function. So in our while loop, which will run forever, we want the ball to keep on moving. So we call the function ball.draw. Command S, F5. Now let's see. There we go. And our ball is off the screen. Great. So now we're creating a moving ball. That ball just went off the screen, but it's a start. Alright, great. So now our ball is moving off the screen. In the next lecture, we'll be learning how to create parameters for the ball to stay in the screen. So if it hits the end of the screen, it'll bounce back. And then we'll be adding the paddle and doing much more. See you in the next lecture.